Hello everyone. So in amino acids and proteins part 1 lecture we have discussed about what are amino acids, what are the functional groups present in amino acids, what is the classification of amino acids based on the amino functional group position, and then we have discussed about the structures of 20 alpha amino acids which are required for our human body for the development, and then we have discussed about the classification of amino acids based on the essentiality and non-essentiality, and after that based on the acidity basicity we have classified the amino acids into three types. One is acidic amino acids, basic amino acids, and neutral amino acids. After that preparation methods of amino acids. So in that we have discussed two methods. One is preparation method from alpha chloro acids. After that, in the second method is malonic ester method. So in this present part 2 lecture we are going to discuss about the two more methods of preparation of alpha amino acids, and then physical properties of amino acids. Let us move to the topic. The third method of synthesis of amino acid is Strecker synthesis. So Strecker synthesis is one of the simple and useful process for the preparation of amino acids. So here the starting material is aldehyde, right. So this aldehyde is reacted with ammonium chloride and potassium cyanide. So then it forms amino cyanide. That is when hydrolyzed, when it is undergoing for hydrolysis, then we will be getting this alpha amino acid. So in this the basic point is so when we are treating aldehyde, that is RC double bond OH is reacted with ammonium chloride and potassium cyanide, this forms amino cyanide. This is amino cyanide which is formed upon hydrolysis. This CN cyanide group will become carboxylic acid group, so that we will be getting alpha amino acids. So this is the Strecker synthesis process. In this the starting material is R C double bond OH, that is aldehyde. So here whatever the aldehyde that we are taking, so we will be getting that kind of amino acid. So means based on the aldehyde alkyl group, means based on the aldehyde group, the amino acid which is coming as product will be depends. So right. So if we want to make a desired amino acid, we have to take the starting material as aldehyde carefully. So then only we will get our desired amino acid. So the mechanism of Strecker synthesis is it's very simple. Just observe here. So here the first step is ammonium chloride and potassium cyanide. So these two are reacting each other and it forms potassium chloride and ammonium cyanide. So here ammonium cyanide is formed. After that whatever the ammonium cyanide which is formed will undergo for dissociation into ammonia and hydrogen cyanide. So now whatever the ammonia NH3 is formed in this reaction is reacted with the starting material aldehyde. So this ammonia NH3 is reacting with aldehyde, so that this oxygen molecule and two hydrogens will leaves as water molecule, so that there you will be getting a double bond between carbon and nitrogen, that is RCH double bond NH. So this is imine is formed, right. So because of the reaction between the aldehyde and ammonia, by leaving water we will be getting a imine, that is RCH double bond NH. And now this imine, that is RCH double bond NH, is reacting with hydrogen cyanide which is formed here, right? That is H plus Cn minus. As we know that the carbonyl carbon or the imine carbon here is electropositive because of the high electronegativity of nitrogen. So automatically negative part of the reagent, that is cyanide minus Cn minus is will attack at imine carbon this, and as the cyanide negative ion is approaching the carbon, the 2 electrons will move to the nitrogen atom. So then there will be getting a N minus, so that N minus will take this H plus ions and convert it into NH2. So here R CH, and with that carbon is attached to cyanide, and then this NH double bond NH will become NH2 by taking H plus proton from the HCN. So here in this step we will be getting a amino cyanide as a product, and now whatever the amino cyanide which is formed in this step, it will undergo for hydrolysis, right. So when undergoing for hydrolysis, this cyanide group will become carboxylic acid group, so that amino acid is derived, right. So here we prepared alpha amino acid. So this is the reaction mechanism of Strecker synthesis. So here initially ammonium chloride is reacted with potassium cyanide, then it forms ammonium cyanide plus potassium chloride. This ammonium cyanide is undergoing for dissociation and forms ammonia and hydrogen cyanide, and now this ammonia NH3 which is formed in this dissociation process will react with aldehyde, and it forms a imine by leaving water. Now whatever the imine which is formed here will reacting with hydrogen cyanide, so that we will be getting amino cyanide, right. This amino cyanide upon hydrolysis will give alpha amino acid. So this is the reaction mechanism of Strecker synthesis. Now based on the Strecker synthesis, how can we prepare alanine? So preparation of alanine based on the Strecker synthesis. So here the structure of alanine is this, as we know, that is CH3CH NH2 COOH. Now here the alkyl group is CH3, hence we have to take RC double bond OH, aldehyde group we have to take as a starting material in the Strecker synthesis, right. So here in place of R we have to take CH3, right, that is CH3 C double bond OH, that is acetaldehyde, right. So acetaldehyde is reacted with ammonium chloride and potassium cyanide, then it forms amino cyanide. So upon hydrolysis we will be getting alanine, CH3 CH NH2 COOH, right. So the same mechanism is there which we have discussed earlier, right. So this is the preparation of alanine through the Strecker synthesis. Next is preparation of valine through the Strecker synthesis. Now here the structure of valine is this, that is CH3 CH CH3 CH NH2 COOH. Here this valine is containing a alkyl group, that is isopropyl group, that is CH3 CH CH3. Now the alkyl group which we required is CH3 CH CH3. So this group is present, so that we have to take a similar kind of aldehyde. So means R C double bond OH. So that is aldehyde. So this aldehyde we are taking, and that is reacted with ammonium chloride and potassium cyanide, then it forms amino cyanide, and upon hydrolysis we will be getting valine. So in this Strecker synthesis the major important thing is, so based on the desired amino acid, we have to take the starting material aldehyde. So then only we will get the desired amino acid. This is the third preparation method of alpha amino acids, that is Strecker synthesis. Now we will be moving to the fourth method of synthesis of alpha amino acids, that is thaliamido-malonic ester synthesis. So earlier in part 1 we have discussed malonic ester synthesis. So here this is thaliamido-malonic ester synthesis. So here this is called thalamide, So amide of phthalic acid is called phthalimide. So here in this method, the starting material is potassium phthalimide. Potassium phthalimide is reacted with alpha bromo malonic ester. As we know, malonic ester, that is CH2 COOET COOET, that is malonic ester. Here we are taking alpha bromo malonic ester. So one hydrogen is replaced with bromine, so that is called alpha bromo malonic ester. So then what will happen? This K plus and bromine will leaves as KBr, and there is a bond formation between nitrogen and carbon CH. So that is will be getting phthalimido malonic ester. So this is called phthalimido malonic ester. So now whatever the phthalimido malonic ester which is formed here is treated with sodium. So sodium will take this hydrogen, alpha hydrogen, and then it forms a carbon ion, and that after that it is reacted with Rx, and that carbon ion will take this R plus group, that is alkyl group, right. So that there is a bond formation between this carbon and alkyl group. Now we will be getting this, that alkyl phthalimido malonic ester. This is the second step in this. Now so here, that is R group is attached to the malonic ester carbon. Now this will be undergoing for hydrolysis and heating. So then what will happen? So this bond will break, this bond will break, and this forms phthalic acid, and there this nitrogen will become this nitrogen will become NH2, and as two carboxylate groups will, one carboxylic acid group leaves as CO2 because of heat, and one COOET will be converted into COOH. So this is the process. So through this we will be getting a product, that is NH2 CH or COOH, right. So this is alpha amino acid. Okay, this is the third step in the phthalimido malonic ester synthesis, right. So here upon hydrolysis, this bond will break, this bond will break, and this is converted into phthalic acid, and now this nitrogen is becoming NH2, and then CHR, and here the one carboxylic acid group leaves as CO2, and that hydrogen will be added to the carbon, so that we will be getting CH here. So through this we will be getting NH2CHR COOH, that is alpha amino acid. This is the preparation method of phthalimido malonic ester synthesis. So in this we have taken the starting material is potassium phthalimide, which is reacted with alpha bromo malonic ester, and then there is a bond formation between nitrogen and malonic ester carbon by leaving KBr, and then phthalimido malonic ester is formed, right. So to this we are reacted with sodium, and this forms a carbon ion, and then after that alkyl halide. So then that carbon ion will react with alkyl halide, and there is a bond formation between malonic ester carbon and alkyl group, and this is the important step, because whatever the R which we are getting in the amino acid will be added here, will be added in this step, right. And whatever the compound we are getting, then we will be undergoing for hydrolysis and upon heat. So there will be getting alpha amino acid, phthalic acid and CO2, and this is alpha amino acid is prepared. This is the reaction mechanism of phthalimido malonic ester synthesis. Now by using this method, preparation of alanine, how to prepare alanine through the phthalimido malonic ester synthesis. So in the case of alanine, so as we know the structure of alanine, that is CH3CH NH2COOH, the alkyl group here it is CH3, right. So now in the second step, while reacting with alkyl halide, we have to take this CH3Br, that is methyl bromide, right. So observe here the starting material is potassium phthalimide, which is reacted with alpha bromo malonic ester, then it forms phthalimido malonic ester, and then it is treated with sodium, then there is a formation of carbon ion here at CH, and then this is carbon ion will react with methyl bromide, because we have to get alanine. So that is alkyl group is R, that is CH3. So based on that we are taking the alkyl halide, that is CH3Br. Then this CH3 group will be added to this carbon, right. So then the CH3 is added here, and upon hydrolysis then we will be getting this NH2CH3 COOH, that is alanine, and plus CO2 plus malonic acid plus ethyl alcohol. Okay. So these are the things we will be getting, which is the mechanism is discussed earlier, it is similar, right. So here we will be getting alanine, right. So here in the second step, whatever the alkyl halide which we are reacting here is very important point. Based on that only the amino acid formed would be depends, right. Next is preparation of leucine through the thalidomide ester synthesis, right. So here the leucine structure is this, that is CH3 CH CH3 CH2 CH NH2 COOH. So here it is containing alkyl group, that is CH3 CH CH3 CH2, that is isobutyryl group, right. So here, so in the reaction process we have to add that alkyl halide as isobutyl halide, isobutyl bromide, right. So just observe the reaction here. So again the starting material is potassium thalamide, which is reacted with alpha bromo malonic ester, then it forms thalidomide malonic ester, right, and it is treated with sodium, then there is a carbon ion formation, and then it is reacted with isobutyl bromide. So then there is a bond formation between this malonic ester carbon and isobutyl group. So isobutyl group is attached to the malonic ester carbon, then upon hydrolysis and heat you will be getting leucine and then CO2 and phthalic acid, right. So with this leucine is prepared. So this is the preparation of leucine through the thalidomide ester synthesis. So these are the majorly 4 preparation methods of amino acids. One is from alpha halo acids, second one is malonic ester synthesis, third one is Strecker synthesis, fourth one is thalidomide ester synthesis. So next we are going to discuss about physical properties of amino acids. The first one is optical activity. So as we have discussed in part 1 that so almost all the amino acids are containing one asymmetric carbon. So except glycine, because glycine is containing CH2, that carbon CH2 NH2 COOH, right. So that's why glycine is optically inactive, because it is not containing any chiral carbon or asymmetric carbon, right. Except glycine, all other natural amino acids, alpha amino acids are containing asymmetric carbon, right. So that automatically it exhibits optical activity, right. So here all the amino acids are similar to the structure of L-glyceraldehyde. So this is L-glyceraldehyde, which is similar. The amino acids are also containing similar structure to the L-glyceraldehyde. So automatically, as we are having L configuration, the absolute configuration would be S. So similarly, L amino acid will have S configuration, right. So means all L amino acids, L alpha amino acids exhibit S configuration. This is the optical activity, right. So here except glycine, all naturally occurring alpha amino acids are asymmetric and they show optical activity. The second point is deuterion. Okay. So here if you observe the structure of amino acid, that is RCH NH2 COOH. So here there are two functional groups are there. One is a carboxylic acid group and second one is amine group. So as we know, carboxylic acid group is acidic in nature because it can give H plus ions, proton donor, right. So as we know, amine group is a basic group because it can accept a proton, so that is a proton acceptor. So in this alpha amino acids, both acidic group is there as well as basic group is there. So automatically it's in amphoteric structure or amphoteric nature, right. So because of the presence of acidic and basic groups, so there is a proton transfer takes place from the acidic group to the basic group, because acidic group is a proton donor and basic group is a proton acceptor. So automatically, so there is a proton transfer takes place from acid group to the base group within the molecule. So that is nothing but within the alpha amino acids, right. So what will happen? So then it will form a charged species. It will form a charged species, right. So when proton transfer takes place, so what will happen here? So there is a ion is formed. Okay. So here just observe here, this is a chargeless alpha amino acid, right, that is COOH and NH2, right. So here in this, so there is a proton transfer from COOH to the NH2, so then it forms NH3 plus because it is accepted one proton, so that and nitrogen will get positive charge, and then as COOH group has given one electron, so sorry, has given one proton, automatically it will get a negative charge. So this is like this, right. So this proton transfer making amino acid into a dipolar ion, So this dipolar ion form of alpha amino acids is called as zwitterion, right. So zwitterion, so that is this alpha amino acid is containing two charged species. One is positive charge at N nitrogen atom and negative charge at carboxylate oxygen, right. So that's why this dipolar ion is called as zwitterion, right. So dipolar ionic form of alpha amino acid is called as zwitterion. Now what are the evidences for the structure of zwitterion, right. So as we observed here in this previous point, so the zwitterionic form is more major, so when compared with the chargeless form of amino acid, right, means amino acids are existing majorly as in the form of zwitterion, right. So here, and what are the evidences for the zwitterionic structure of alpha amino acids? So observe here, the first one is melting point, right. So if you observe when compared with the chargeless species and charged ions, the charged ions will have more melting point. So here if you observe in the case of glycine, that is NH3 plus CH2 COO minus. So the melting point is 262 degree centigrade, right. So high melting point indicates that this alpha amino acids are majorly existing as in the form of dipolar ion, not in the form of chargeless species, chargeless molecules, right. So high melting point indicating the presence of dipolar structure. Next is solubility. So if you observe the solubility of amino acids majorly dissolve in water than ether. So means high solubility in water, nothing but water is polar solvent as we know. So what it indicates, that a polar molecule dissolve in polar solvent, that we know, right. So here the as alpha amino acids are more solubility in water, it indicates that amino acids are in the form of polar ions. That's why the solubility in the water is high, right? So only ether it dissolve, but the solubility is very less in ether when compared to the water, and amino acids does not dissolve in any other organic solvents except ether. Maybe soluble, but the solubility is very less, right? So the solubility in water, that is polar solvent, indicates the presence of dipolar form of alpha amino acids. The next one is polar character, that is dipole moment. So here what we know that the dipole moment, right? So whenever a dipole is there, so that the dipole moment can be calculated in dBi units. Okay, how much charge is there? Okay, so dipole moment equals to charge into distance between the dipoles. So right here the amino acids are having a higher dipole moment when compared to the normal amines and normal carboxylic acids. So if you observe here, so just take glycine, that is NH3 plus CH2 COO minus, so that is the dipole moment mu equals to 14 dBi units, right? So if you observe the propyl amine, so the dipole moment is 1.4 d, and propanoic acid, the dipole moment is 1.7 d, right? So here, as this glycine is containing one carboxylic acid group and one amine group, the dipole moment would be around 1.4 plus 1.7, that may be 3.1 or 3.2. But here that the dipole moment of glycine is very high, that is 14 dBi units. So it is indicating that the amine group and carboxylic acid group are not existing as NH2 and COOH, right? So these are existing as a dipole like NH3 plus and COO minus. That's why the dipole moment is very high. So this shows like a salt like character of amino acid, that is nothing but high polarity of form of amino acid. So this is one of the evidences for the existence of Jeter ion. The next is amphoteric nature. So as we know that carboxylic acid amino acids are containing both carboxylic acid group and amine group. So carboxylic acid group is acidic group, amine group is basic group, right? So when a compound is containing both acidic and basic groups, automatically in chemical reactions, so this acidic group will react with bases, and this basic group will react with acids. So means this compound, nothing but alpha amino acids are reacting with acids as well as bases. So this is called amphoteric nature. This amphoteric nature is also one of the indication of dipolar form of amino acids. So these are the evidences for the existence of Jeter ion. Right. The next one is isoelectric point, right? So here, so there are two functional groups are present in the amino acid, that is COOH and NH2, right? So here, as we know that the Jeter ionic form, that is this, right? So after formation of Jeter ion in the amino acid, so here the acidic part is not COOH group, because COOH group became COO minus, because one proton transfer takes place from COOH to the amine, right? So here COOH is not existing in the Jeter ion, that is COO minus only. It means the acidic character of amino acids is not from the carboxylic group, it is from the amine group, that is NH3 plus group, that is aminium ion group. Now So here the basic group is NH2, but NH2 group is not present like NH2, so that is present like NH3 plus, right? So it is acidic. Now the basic part would be COO minus, right? So acidic character is from NH3 plus group and basic character is from COO minus. That's why NH3 plus is acidic and COO minus is basic in nature in the dipolar form of alpha amino acids, right? So here so if you observe the acidic and basic character of carboxylate and aminium ions. So if you observe the pKa of a carboxylic acid, that is around 5, so means it is indicating that acidity is more, and a amine group, that pKb is 4, that is the basicity is little more, but in the dipolar ion or in the deuterionic form of alpha amino acids, that pKa value is very less, that indicates the acidic nature of NH3 plus group is very less, and the pKb is 12, that is the basic nature of COO minus is also very less, right? Means, so when compared to the common carboxylic acid and carbon amine, the acidic and basic nature of aminium ion and carboxylate group is very less. So if you observe a amino acid at a different pH levels, so observe here, so just this is at pH 6 to 7, this is in the form of deuterion, that is NH3 plus CH or COO minus, right? So when this alpha amino acid is treated with acidic solution, so as the H plus ions are available, then what will happen, this H plus ions will be attached to the COO minus, so then we will be getting COOH, right? So here this carboxylate group will take the H plus ions, because carboxylate group is basic group, then what will happen, that COO minus will become COOH, right? So means in the acidic medium or in the acidic solution, that is nothing but when pH is less than 6, so it is means the amino acid is in the form of cation, so that is cationic form is there for the amino acid in the acidic medium or in the acidic solution, that is nothing but pH less than 6, right? So when pH is more, that is nothing but when this amino acid is treated with basic solution or the pH is greater than 7, then what will happen, so as the basic solution is there, automatically it consisting of OH minus ions, right? So now this OH minus ions will take one hydrogen from the aminium group, that is NH3 plus, so automatically then that aminium will become, that nothing but NH3 plus will become NH2, right? So NH2 CH or COO minus, so means, so in the basic medium it is observed that it is like a anion, so means, so in the acidic medium or in the acidic solution, the deuterion form of amino acid is in the cationic form, in the basic solution the deuterion is like anionic form, right? So based on the pH values, based on the medium, the deuterion is like cation as well as anion. In acidic solution it is existing as a cationic form, in the basic solution it is existing as anionic form, right? So now, so just take an example of alanine. So alanine, this is a dipolar structure of alanine, that is NH3 plus CH3 COO minus, that is dipolar form. This is around pH at 6 to 6.5, right? So in the acidic medium, so means when we treated with H plus ions, then this COO minus will take the H plus, then automatically, so it forms COOH, right? So that is NH3 plus CH3 COOH. So means here it is in the form of cationic form, means when pH is acidic pH, that is pH at 2.3. So at pH 2.3 the alanine is existing in the cationic form. Now take the same alanine, that is dipolar alanine, in basic medium. So as a base is there, so this base will take H plus ions from the NH3 plus group, then it leaves as water. So then that NH3 plus will become NH2, then CH3 COO minus, right. So this is in the form of anionic form, means when pH is 9.7, nothing but in the basic pH or more than in the basic pH or in the basic medium, this alanine is existing as in the form of anionic form, right. So here the pH at which an amino acid present more as a dipolar ion, nothing but zwitterion form, is called as isoelectric point. Means the pH at which a amino acid is observed more in the form of zwitterion form or dipolar form. So that pH value is called as isoelectric point. So just observe here. So as we know, right, this is a zwitterionic form of alpha amino acid. So in the acidic medium, so it is in the cationic form. So when it is in the cationic form, right, in the basic medium, so base will take the H plus from the NH3 plus, so that NH2 will be there, then automatically it is in the anionic form, right. So when cationic group is there in the electrolysis process, it move towards cathode. When anion is there, it move towards anode, right. So means in the acidic medium, the amino acid is existing as a cation. So when we undergo for electrolysis, then it move towards cathode, because it is in the form of cation, right. So in the basic medium, it is existing as anion. So then automatically it move towards anode in the electrolysis process, right. Now so means at intermediate pH value, means either it may be not acidic or not basic pH value. So the dipolar ion will exist as more, means it will not form cation or anion. So it may not move towards anode or cathode, means the pH at which an amino acid does not move towards either anode or cathode is called as isoelectric point. So that means at that particular pH value, so the amino acid is existing as like more as a dipolar ion or zwitterionic form. The pH at which an amino acid does not move towards either anode or cathode is called isoelectric point. Yeah, at isoelectric point, so the dipolar ion or zwitterion form is more, okay. The amino acids are existing as more in the form of dipolar ions, not as cations as well as anions, and the magnitude of most of the physical properties are minimum. Solubility in the water is very less, right. And next is mobility, electrical conductivity, osmotic pressure, viscosity, all are very less at isoelectric point. So based on these properties, so that automatically amino acids can be separated and we can identify isoelectric point, right. So by using the isoelectric point, we can separate the amino acids. So we will see one example for the separation of amino acids based on the isoelectric point. So just before going to example, we know that there are three kind of amino acids are there based on the acidity and basicity. So that acidic amino acids, basic amino acids, and neutral amino acids. So for the acidic amino acids, the isoelectric point would be less than 5, and for neutral amino acids, so in between 5 to 6.3, and for basic amino acids, the isoelectric point is greater than 6.3. So because in the acidic amino acids, so we will be having one additional acidic group, so that's why the isoelectric point would be less. So in the basic amino acids, along with one amine and one carboxylic acid group, will be having one additional basic group. So that's why those are basic amino acids. As an additional basic group is present, then automatically the isoelectric point would be greater than 6.3. So just observe three examples here. One is alanine, this is neutral amino acid. One is second one is lysine, that is basic amino acid, and third one is aspartic acid, that is acidic amino acid, right? So here alanine, which is a neutral amino acid, and the isoelectric point of this alanine is 6. Lysine is a basic amino acid because it is containing two basic groups. So one additional amine group is present, which is existing as NH3 plus, and that isoelectric point is 9.7. So as it is a basic amino acid, the isoelectric point would be more than 6.3, that is nothing but 9.7 here. And aspartic acid is a acidic amino acid, right? So additionally it is consisting of one carboxylic acid group. So the isoelectric point of this aspartic acid is 2.8, right? So for neutral amino acid this is around 5 to 6.3, and for basic amino acid this is more than 6.3, that is 9.7 for lysine, and 2.8 for aspartic acid, that is acidic amino acid. So these are the isoelectric points of acidic, basic and neutral amino acids. So now we will see the separation of amino acids based on the isoelectric point value. So right, just observe here, as we have discussed now, that is alanine isoelectric point is 6, and lysine, that is basic amino acid, that is 9.7, and aspartic acid is 2.8, right? So here we will be taking this mixture of these three amino acids on a paper, right? So that is alanine plus lysine plus aspartic acid. This mixture is taken on a paper. Now the pH maintain of pH at 6.0 by done through the buffer solution, right? So here at pH value 6.0, the alanine is in the form of dipolar ion because it is a neutral amino acid, right? And lysine is in the form of cation. So one anion, one cation is there, but additionally as amine group is there because it is basic group and which is accepted one proton, so that it is in the form of cation. And aspartic acid is in the form of anion because it is consisting of one additional COO minus group, right? So here at pH 6.0, alanine is dipolar ion, lysine is cation, aspartic acid is anion, right? So this mixture alanine, lysine and aspartic acid is placed on a paper at pH 6. The pH is maintained through the buffer solution, right? So now we will take all these things in a electrolysis process. So just observe here, this is electric current, electric supply, right? So we are placing the soaked paper on in between the two electrodes, cathode and anode, right? So so here we have taken the paper which is containing mixture of amino acids. So the pH is maintained through the buffer, right? So now what will happen? So when we pass the electricity, right? So when we pass the electricity, so here there are three amino acids are there. One is alanine, lysine and aspartic acid. So when the electricity is passed, then what will happen? So here alanine is dipolar nature, hence what happen? Alanine will not move towards either anode or cathode because it is in the dipolar form. So nothing but it is in the form of deuterion, both minus and plus charge is there. And in the case of lysine is existing as a cation, so positive charge. So lysine is existing as a cation. Now what will happen? Cation will move towards a cathode. So that's why lysine is moving towards a cathode. And then aspartic acid is in the form of COO minus, that is anion. So as it is in the form of anion, that will move towards anode, right. So right here, so the mixture of 3 amino acids is one is at there in between the electrodes, one is moved towards the cathode and another one is moved towards anode, right. So in this mixture alanine is there here itself, and lysine as it is a cation, it is moved towards cathode, and aspartic acid as it is a anion form and it is moved towards anode. So that this mixture of alanine, lysine and aspartic acid can be separated through this process. So by using isoelectric point values. Thank you.